good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the NDT Talks by OnestopNDT. We are glad to have you join us for the June session, where we explore a topic that directly impacts the future of professionals and the industry. Is NDT adapting fast enough to meet the demands of global certification changes? Today's industries are evolving faster than ever. We are seeing the rise of AI, automation, digital inspection systems, and data driven decision making, transforming how inspections are performed and how results are interpreted. But this raises a critical question. Are our certification systems, training frameworks, and skill development models evolving at the same pace? Or are we preparing professionals for a world that is already changing faster than our systems can keep up with? Joining with us today are Mr. Anmol Beering, an NDT researcher, consultant, and an instructor with deep expertise across advanced inspection methods and materials. And we have Mr. Ajay Pasupati, CEO of Kuka Technologies, bringing an industry and technology driven perspective on how certification aligns with real world requirements. Moderating today's discussions is Mr. Vijay Nakrani, NDT Senior Manager and Level 3 professional who will guide this conversation. With that, I hand it over to you, Mr. Vijay.
Thank you for that introduction, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. Let's start because the topic is very vast and it is very debatable. So, across every industry today, AI and automation are changing the way we work, and they are doing it incredibly fast. We are seeing systems that can assist in finding defects like ADR, analyzing complex data, improving our decision making, and even reduce need for human intervention in certain workflows. But when we work in a certification, if we see the entity certification and training, here is a big question. Are we evolving at the same pace, or are we still relying on framework built for a past generation of inspectors? Today, we are going to explore this gap between the speed of technological changes and the speed of our training. We want to find out this gap is starting to impact quality, safety, and our overall readiness for the future. So let's start discussing about these topics. First of all, I will start with Anmol sir. Let's start with you, sir. My question is.
I was thinking about this topic is kind of complex. So I was thinking that if you divide the type of NDT we do, yeah, if we divide the NDT we do into two different types of NDT. One is actually the NDT we do for the inspection of the plants, the plant inspections, petrochemical, power plant, and all that. It's still very much manual. The inspector is directly involved. So we are still going with the traditional methods of certification. And as far as that is concerned, the training and the certification, it's working well. You know, they are in harmony. They are together, and we keep up. I mean, the NDT people keep up with the certification, the updates in the certification. So, for example, from SNTTC 1A, when it's upgraded from 2020 to 2024, we just keep up with that. As far as the other part is concerned, this automation and in mass production and all that, I'm really not involved in that area. So I really don't know how that is impacting the application of NDT as far as the AI is concerned or robotics is concerned. So that is not really my area. My area is mostly in plant inspections, and that one is going. I mean, they are pretty much in harmony. The certification process and the NDT application of NDT.
Actually, you are a very good NDT trainer. And so I'm just asking about certification. So I just wanted to know about your opinions about AI implementation in certification schemes like in SNDTC. There is we see in these fast growing industries we need to implement something which is advanced technology that helps entity professionals to do their work. But there is nothing like this in certification schemes. So, what's your opinion? We are
Give me
preparing.
some. I'm trying to understand, this topic. I'm still not understood it very well. Can you give me some examples? Like, what are we talking about? This AI and all that in
Um,
NDT? Because we are. I'm not that
exactly.
involved with the AI business of NDT.
Actually, we are implementing ADR, automatic defect recognition, and many other things in visual testing. We are using AI for some detection of defects. But in certification schemes, we are not seeing these kind of topics. So
So
there is a
actually, isn't
gap.
it when actually you're using automation, and if something comes up, then doesn't isn't there a manual inspector involved with that who can actually evaluate something which is questionable and override it? So, for example, when the radiologists in the hospitals, they do CAT, CT scans and MRIs and all that, they have started using AI for their work, but still they are involved with that. If something, the AI model will actually go through maybe 300 images, and then it will flag the ones which are of concern, and then the radiologist is still involved with that. So as far as the radiologist is concerned or the NDT inspector is concerned, they still need to go through their same certification process and be familiar with the technology. You basically, what I'm saying is that you cannot, even as of today, you cannot leave the inspection 100% to the machines. Somebody has to be involved with that. That's what my thinking is. You just cannot leave
Definitely.
it 100%. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. But somebody has to train the person so they can use this kind of tools.
Or the training of yeah, means the as so. I'm just thinking, the medical field is more advanced right now
Right,
than our
correct,
MDT field. In the medical
correct.
field, we know that the radiologists, they get the images, they put it in the AI and all that, and then the AI processes the images, and then it will red flag it. So the human operator is still involved with the final decision, and the final decision is still made by the radiologist, not by the machines. Now, if it's fully automated, that's a different story. That
Yeah.
that would be like in production of automobiles and all that, where they just make everything, or in consumer goods, that will be fully automated actually. So, but in that automation has been there in that field for many years already. It's nothing new for them. They have to automate it to keep the cost low. So I think what we are talking is a very, very wide range of NDT. When you're talking about visual inspection, paint inspection, and all that, it's a very wide range. But for the basic stuff, which is, it's still, I mean, as far as the closest it can get is the radiography. So for radiography, they have started using these AI models and all that stuff. But still, the NDT
Human
inspector or the
intervention
radiologist is
is
still involved.
necessary.
He's still involved in
Yeah,
that. So
correct.
as far as that person is concerned, their certification process stays the same. I mean, they have to be familiar with the tools. They have to be familiar with how these AI tools are being applied. They have to be trained on these, AI software and all that. But as far as the physics of
No,
the
sir.
radiography, the physics of scattering and all
Actually,
that, they still have to go through that.
correct, sir.
So we cannot just, when I go to these conferences now, what I'm seeing is that okay, we are going to go to AI, we are going to go to NDE4 and all that, but the bottom line is the physics of the NDT will still be the same. There is everything depends on the physics. and you can't
Correct.
just be hands off and say, okay, here we go. You start doing the phased array, and we are going to accept your results. That is not that's not a good idea. That's taking a big chance, because even as of today, I have images, I have radiographic images in which these AI models. So I was in a conference last week, and they were presenting papers on using this AI for radiography, interpretation of radiographic images. But they were using simple defects like porosity, slag, undercut, lack of penetration. Those are no-brainers. They're easy to find in the images for the AI, but the difficult ones, they are still having. It's not easy for these image interpretation tools to find them. For example, if you have fine lack of fusion in the well ripples, the AI is still not very successful. It's not 100%. It may find it or it may miss it. Still, at that point, I think the human being is a better interpreter. So it depends on how you look at it. And also you have to understand that there is some business interests in it who actually are pushing for these AI type interpretation software, because obviously it's a business thing for them to push that and have the user use them. But to me, they are not 100% reliable. And as far as UT is concerned, ultrasonic testing is concerned, they are way off. They are still not anywhere close to being applied, because UT is more complex than RT. RT is just an image, and you can interpret it. In UT, it's not just the image, it's dynamic actually, because you're moving the probe as you're actually getting the images, so it gets more complicated for the AI. And what I've seen in UT is that as far as phased array is concerned, or all these imaging software is concerned, they look at the static images, and then from the static images they try to uh, decide, is this flaw or it's not a flaw, or is it root, or what is it. And that's not enough, because when we are doing ultrasonic testing, we look at the response of the flaw as we move the probe, and that needs to be included in the AI software. And so far, I have not seen any reliable UT software. Right now, there is no reliable UT software that exists, which actually is better than a human being, a good skilled human inspector. So there is still a gap. So that's what I can say. There is
Yeah.
a gap. The gap is more in UT than in RT. RT is getting closer and closer, but hopefully one day they will be good. RT models will be good, but they need to be trained on difficult flaws, not simple porosity type flaws. So that's what it is. You can train them on 1,000 porosity type flaws, but still they are no good then, unless you really train them on difficult and challenging welding type flaws. That's what I've been doing. So that's where we are actually. So as far as the certification is concerned, it's still the same. The human being has to be certified. As far as, for example, you think that the radiologist or the doctor, their education has not changed, even though the AI models have come in, the AI software has come in, but they're still going through the same medical school, the same course curriculum and all that. They have not. It's not like, okay, the patient comes in and then the CT scan gets a CT scan, and the CT scanner decides what's right and wrong. It's still not there. Still, the doctor is involved with that. So same thing with us. We are still involved with the final decision making.
Okay. Now, Ajay sir, bringing you in here, my question is AI is already stepping into our workflows from data analysis to helping us interpret results. But our certification systems reflecting this shift, do current certification even account for AI tools and digital workflows, or are we still just testing manual skills?
So it's an interesting question for me because as Mr. Bering is saying here, there is it's a vast open area. But if I step back a little bit and see, right, so the AI is used in training today primarily because there was a point in time when level ones were brought in, trainees were brought in and became level ones, and then they became level twos. Well, there is a good portion of the time in the US where level ones are no more there. There's nobody doing that training. You're taking people directly from level two. You become more valuable once you become level two. So there is a significant push in the US to start workforce development and look at ways to train these people. And to train large volumes of people, you need data and you need tools. The second piece of it is what you're asking, which is, especially in the casting and in the industry, not in the field work, but in the industrial sector, with automation kicking in, most of the work is being done by robotics, which is essentially capturing the data for you. So data acquisition has become more automated. You still need to know the physics, absolutely. You need to know how you're capturing, but the time spent on a tool is more push button, right? Start the machine plus push this button, and then it starts acquiring the data. So it's now becoming even more a challenge that the interpreters need to understand what are they getting from these automated tools. So training becomes even more difficult now because sometimes the physics is lost. You're at a point where you are just taking images, not knowing what you're taking, but you're trying to interpret on that. So there are tools that are being used for training, more as the NDT 4.0 tools, but in a bigger scheme of things, certification of AI is something that ASNT is looking at, and you should almost look at even AI as a human operator. It has to go through a trainee phase, like the other colleague is saying here, that nobody trusts AI. Well, they're at a trainee level right now. Each individual AI is at a trainee level based on application, based on the data set that has been provided. So for it to become from a trainee to a level 2, there is work required on the AI companies as well. And it will not be a catch-all. It will have to be specific to the industry segment. So there is a discussion here in the US about how do you certify these things? What does certification of AI mean? And ultimately, how does the human play a role in the system? At best, you could talk of it as being used today for training. Training of an individual with a data set. So there are tools out there, what they call as digital twins, which make it more easier for you to take castings, different types of castings, put flaws inside those castings, and see how those flaws look. Sorry, I'm at an airport. So there are tools that can be used for introducing flaws and use it for training. So using technology is much more easier to learn different types of castings. I'm really sorry, one second, let me mute myself. Okay, hopefully it is gone. So there are tools that can be used for introducing different characteristics within the images and then train the individual better. So I'm not sure if certification of a human would change. It's a good question, but like that human certification is different from the AI certification, but can you use the AI tools today to train the individual better? The answer is yes.
So now my question is about institutes. So, are our institute today preparing professionals for a hybrid future where they need to understand both manual inspection and data technology? And should an NDT professional today be expected to understand basics of software and AI? And are we fundamentally redefining what an inspector is?
See, for basic entity training, we are not getting involved with AI. So because AI is very specific, it's more I would say in the production, the mass production industry. Not when I started my presentation, I said there's two types of industries. We have the plant inspections, where it's still all manually done, and then you have the mass production where you have castings and automobiles and all that. There, it has been applied for a long time. It's nothing new for them. They actually, because the images are easy to interpret. So we are talking about totally two different areas of application of NDT. And as far as the factory floor is concerned, the mass production, the castings and forging and all that, it's already there, and the tools are working good. So as far as when you're saying that the training, how are we changing the training mode for the trainees in level 2 RT and level 2 PAUT? It comes down to the equipment they will be using. So for example, if they are doing digital radiography, then they will need training in the specific software. So if suppose there is a company, you're using some company's software, that becomes more of a company specific training, which will be in addition to the regular training. So they still will have to go through that regular 80 hours of radiography training or UT training. But then in addition to that, they will have to be trained on the software for that specific image processing software. So that has to be done, and that was always being done even until today in the last so many decades. So if you're going to use Waygate machines, you have to get training in those. So same thing will apply if you're going to use a certain AI model. If you're going to use Siemens machines, you have to be trained on their software, and you have to go through some, like Vijay said, the training on some samples or some database. That has to be done for the inspector to be proficient in use of those tools, because the tools are available, but you have to know how to even apply the tools. So it's not just like you go through training and you're good to use AI. It will become very specific to the tools and the equipment you will be using, and that will keep changing. Actually.
Yeah.
Now, using AI for training, that will definitely help. There is no question about it. So using AI for regular training, that definitely will help the students.
So we're seeing a big push towards, especially digital technologies, digital RT, DRT, CT. There is a push for more advanced training that can come. I don't know if you call it AI, but it is coming in because of these tools that can be more assimilators. So that is definitely something that you can see the individuals getting more proficient. And it also gets to the point that computer skills are given now, especially if you want to get into some of these high advanced NDE methodologies. Kicking and screaming, you will be taken through all the training of those tools. So even the filters, the whole concept, especially at NAS 410, they've changed it to make sure that you understand all those topics. So definitely in the casting world, it is changing drastically, and industry specific ultimately will catch up, but some are further along than the others, especially if you're talking advanced digital tools.
So one example I have to give you is that when we do the training, I used to just train from from the knowledge I have and the books I use and my own presentation material. But in the last few months, I'm not even talking about few years, but in the last few months, now I have started using this chat GPT more and more while I'm teaching. And it's really helping a lot because, for example, if you're talking about just simple, empty magnetic particle testing, and then we talk about electromagnetism. And then in order to actually make it easier for the students to understand the concept, I'll go to ChatGPT or something like that, and I'll check it and I'll put in some information, and then I'll tell the students, see here, this explains it much better. So that should already be used as part of the training, but it depends on the instructor how he actually is comfortable using it. But I'm started to using it more and more now, and it's really helping the students. And then they are getting used to another thing is that they are getting used to using these AI tools to enhance their knowledge of physics and NDT. So more to do with the physics because there is more information about the physics in the AI tools than NDT. But in order for them to understand the principles of NDT, basic principles like what is capillary action, what is electromagnetism, what is Lenz's law, it's easier for them to go into this, and then they get used to using it for their own work actually. So that definitely is helping them and helping them improve the quality of the inspection. So that's been a big help now.
Yeah. We all know certification systems are built to be structured and slow because they require strict validation for safety. And technology, on the other hand, is fast and constantly experimenting. How do we balance the absolute need for safety and standardization with the need for speed and innovation? And can certification ever realistically keep up with AI?
So there are two
Vijay should
separate
answer this question.
industry
Ajay,
need,
sorry.
the industry always wants you to do it fast. I mean, that has been an age-old problem. Fast is always better for the industry until an incident happens. Then suddenly everybody will say, no, that should not be the case, right? So, can certification keep up? I don't know if sometimes it is better to do it in a steady way than trying to change things. But I'll say it this way: the push towards performance based is coming up more and more. So not certification purely based on hours is changing. At least there is a realization that no, just by hours is not enough. We need to go by performance. And if that catches on, where the performance-based systems come into play, I think that will definitely help adoption faster. If you are stuck in a time-based system which says no matter what you do, you need to be, say, for RT level 2, for NAS 410, you need to be 800 hours minimum. You are stuck with 800 hours. It doesn't matter what the technology is. You are stuck for that time period. And some of those issues that you're talking about come because of those hard rules that have been input in the certification. If it changes to more performance based, then some individuals may be faster, some individuals may be slower. As long as this performance is shown and reliably shown, then you can start talking about tools.
So the one thing you have to understand is that at the end of the day, like Ajay said that the certification is going to be is the responsibility of the employer. That's the bottom line. The certification, so they can go through 80 hours of training or 40 hours of training or whatever it is. The training is not just sitting through the class and learn. It's just sitting it and just getting hours. They have to learn. But there is a variation in the training programs. We all know that from different schools there is a big variation in trainings. From some schools you have good students. From some they just sit there and gain their hours. But at the end of the day, as far as SNTTC is concerned, that's why I like SNTTC more than the ISO 9712, is that the certification is the responsibility of the employer. So it comes down to the employer. If you are working for a company that's serious about NDT, they will make sure that you know what you're doing. They are not just going to certify you based on a simple test and just based on hours and test and say, okay, you're done. That's not good. So it comes down to the employer. So it is the responsibility of the employer. And as we know that in this certification business, you have the general test, you have the practical, and you have the specific. So those tests, basically the specific test and the practicals are specific to the kind of work they have to do, not that they just went through a training school and they did some scanning on some samples and they are level 2. That's because the training schools don't certify them. Basically, we know that the certification is actually done by the employer who actually they will be working for. So it is the employer's responsibility how serious the employer wants to do it. And even now we know that from some inspection companies, from some employers, we have good inspectors, and from some they are not good. So we know that background story. So again, as far as use of the AI tools is concerned, it's going to be the same. Like how much is the employer concerned about the quality of the work as far as the use of the AI tools is concerned. So if they're very concerned, they're going to have good certification program. They will have good performance demonstration for the AI tools and make sure that the inspector understands how to use it and gets a very high probability of detection using the AI tools. Now, if they just bring the inspector on board and level 2 inspector and say, here it is, read the book and do it, obviously you are not going to get good output from that inspector. So it comes down to the same thing. How serious is the employer in making sure that the inspector or the AI tool or anything they are using is going to do a good, reliable inspection. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the reliability. We always talk about 90% reliability with 95% confidence level and all that stuff. So if we are going into that direction, then we have to make sure that we have all the samples or the images and all that to achieve that very high POD levels better than the human inspector. So all of these things come into picture, but still I'm telling you from what I think, the certification program, the basic of the certification program is still good, because there are some verbiage in the certification programs which is still valid regardless of the AI tools. Like one sentence which says certification is the responsibility of the employer. To me, that means a lot. You can go through all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're working for Mahindra and Mahindra or Tata or Air India, it is their responsibility to make sure that the work that you're doing a good job for them.
Okay, so my last question to both of you. What needs to change right now to make sure entity professionals stay relevant? And do we need to completely redesign our framework, introduce continuous modular certification, or rethink the very definition of being qualified?
See, it comes down to the same thing. Like I said, it's a responsibility of the employer. The employer actually depends on how serious the employer is, and some employers, they want good quality and they will make sure that there is a training program So once they come into their company, then they will be retrained every year. They will have testing every refresher classes every few months. And there are others who don't care. They just bring in. They are like body shops. I'm just telling you, they are like body shops. They will get these certified inspectors who have gone through some authorized qualification bodies, AQBs, and they get their ISO 9712 certification. And these employers, they don't even have qualified level threes in their own companies to make sure that these guys know what they're doing. So they have become like a business. They're body shops, and they just send these inspectors and they don't even give them any retraining and all that stuff. So that you have to be very careful dealing with these companies. I've seen companies which have good inspectors, and then there are companies they don't even care about it because they're just business models and they're just into making money. So it's not a simple answer to your question. Actually, it's a very complicated answer. When you're in the field, you see all this stuff happening. I've seen people flying from India. This was many years ago, to get certification. They were going to Malaysia because it was easy for them to pass the certification test in Malaysia compared to the schools in India. This was many years ago. And even within Malaysia, there were like 3-4 schools, and there were some schools where it was easier for them to get certified. So they were flying all the way to just get certified. So it depends on how. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the employer. How serious the employer is to make sure that he has good quality, skilled. I use the word skilled people who know what they're doing, and you can depend on their results, not just their certification, which is hanging on their wall and saying they are level 2s and level 3s. Sorry to say, but a lot of our level 3s are not very skilled. I'm just telling you, level 3s, level 2s, I have more respect for the level 2s than the level 3s, because level 3 certification is all theoretical, it's all examination based. Level 2 is still better. So there is a lot of there's a lot of stuff is missing, but we know what is missing, and we know how to actually take care of that. So it's not simple and straightforward. It's not black and white, but at the end of the day, it is a responsibility of the employer to make sure that they have good skilled people and they are doing a good job, whether it's human beings or it is AI tools or anything. So that's what I would say.
I will just add to that, saying that more and more globalization is happening now, and especially aerospace industry, which I'm very purview to. The primes are they understand the problem, and they want their supply chains to standardize. So there is definitely the continuous learning part that they want to implement. There are conversations that are happening where if something happens where an individual is not doing what they're supposed to do, what can be done to recertify that individual? Because today, in certain industries, they pull your stamp. They do pull your stamp if you do continuous mistakes. So it starts with the industry, it starts with the prime, and it starts with their exposure. How much of exposure is there, and then how much of an interest they have in controlling the supply chain. So it's happening. We love to see it more predominant as much, but sometimes field is fairly difficult to control such things, but there is an effort. So one of the big things that is coming in is procedure standardization, workflow softwares to help the individual. These are external tools that can make sure that the operators are doing what they're supposed to do. Fixing something is very difficult and very expensive. So can you use technology there to support these people to basically make sure that they take the right electrodes, right equipment, follow the procedure properly? And retraining has been something that the industry always used, but recertification is certain sectors are very much looking into that.
Okay. Before we go to the audience, let's do a quick rapid fire round. So just short answer you have to give. Okay. So name one skill every entity professional must learn in next 5 years.
Integrity.
I
I would
think
say
the
integrity.
visual.
They can learn anything else, but they need to be, they have to have integrity and they need to be able to stick to their thing. You can learn technology easily, but
In next
if you
five
don't
years
have integrity, then you have a
or
problem.
right now, sir?
No, because integrity is the key to NDT. There is no question.
Yes.
That's most, as far as I think, because you're depending on the word of the inspector. They are in the field all by themselves. And I don't like NDT inspectors who are rocket scientists, who are PhDs in physics, but then they are cheating the system. That's no good. The whole, you know, that's not good. So integrity is key for NDT. But the basic stuff they have to be knowledgeable about is physics of the whole process, whether it's liquid penetrant testing or it's radiography or digital radiography, that physics part. And the chat GPT and all these AI tools are making it so easy for the students to understand the physics of these processes. They can, for example, let's talk about digital radiography. If they are really curious to know digital radiography, what kind of these detectors are there are different types of detectors. They don't have to read books now. They don't have to go to the library. They can just go to ChatGPT and say, this is it. And what are the different types of detectors? So it comes down to now it comes down to the curiosity of the inspector. How curious it is. They go home and they still think, oh man, what did I do today? Can I get some more information? So it's really helping them a lot. I mean, it's a revolution now as far as anything is concerned. In the next few years, we'll see a big changes.
Now question is a little bit tricky, but I will just name one area where certification is already outdated.
Outdated, I don't know.
I like, my opinion, it's the time-based systems that is outdated.
Okay. Now one word. How do you describe the future of NDT certification?
I think it's an evolving process. It's going there, like you can see SNTTC 1A and ISO 9712. They're updating their certification processes every 4 years. So they will keep up with the technology, no question about it. As new technologies are coming, they have to keep up with it. And they have been doing a good job, as new digital radiographies, CT scanning and all that. So they keep updating their certification process. And it's
Now
good to go
it's
to these conferences. Really, the best is to go to the conferences like you all went there and then attend these sessions there on certification. Always in the big conferences, they will have sessions on certification processes and where all these experts will get together and discuss the process and how they are updating them, whether it's NAS 410 or ISO or SNTTC 1A. So that's good to be involved with.
okay. Now it's a time to question answer
But one thing
from
is that
audience. Yes, sir.
these people have to be they have to keep up with the certification process. So because like SNTTC 1A, we have 2024, 2020, 2016, 2012, and I still run into companies, they are still following the old ones, 2020, 2012, because they don't even know that the new ones have already come up. So they need to keep up with the latest editions of certification, not just one edition and they just stick to that. And that's one issue I've seen with some companies, that they are not updating their certification process to the latest edition of the codes and the standards. That's one thing I've seen. I run into that all the time. It's nothing new. that they are not keeping up with the latest editions.
They just keep writing in
Yeah, for
NDT.
example, the new edition 2024, there's small differences. Like, for example, they'll say for the practicals, you have to score 80%. But in the old editions, it was just the average has to be 80%. But in the new ones, the practical requirement is that the average has to be 70%, but for the practicals, it still has to be 80%. Now, for NAS 410 and others, they will say no, they cannot miss any flaws when they're doing the practical test. So those things, these things keep updating in the newer editions, so they have to keep up with them.
I have noticed many written practices, so they are just writing SNDTC even a latest edition. So it is never going to expire.
No, that latest edition, that is a no. They should put the edition number. 2020
Exactly.
16 or 20, latest edition, using the word latest edition is meaningless.
Correct.
It means nothing. It means nothing. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, now we have some questions from our audience. Let's take that turn. I'm reading the questions. First question is from Mr. Sanket Kare. If AI is used to review radiographic images and misses a defect, how do we verify its reliability? Since AI cannot be calibrated like conventional entity equipments, what controls should be in place to prevent false acceptance?
So Ajay wants to answer, or me?
Yeah.
Up to you.
No, it depends on the application. Like Ajay said very clearly that there are some applications where it's easy for AI to work. For example, castings and forging and all that. And for the others, it's difficult. So there is no straight answer to that question. So in as far as the castings are concerned, forgings, uh, those kind of processes, it's easy for AI to be applied. You can train AI, you can test AI, and it will be very reliable, actually, very reliable. In fact, it could be better than the human being, because the human being gets tired, the eyes get tired and all that stuff, but the AI will be very consistent for that application. But for the difficult to find defects, it can be the human being has still to be involved.
Yeah, I'll just add to that there is a process now, because there are so many AI tools. In fact, if you go to a conference, almost 80%, 90% of the papers are all about how people have implemented AI for a specific application. So there is a realization that there needs to be standardization and a process to put these AI use cases. So ISO is working on it, and ASNT has also released their recommended practice. But this will go through a process like anything else. You should think of AI more as at the stage of the process of a trainee right now. It's not going to replace a level 2. It has to go through the process of becoming a level 1, then level 2, and then you can talk about implementing it. But the journey has started, is all I can say.
Okay, now another question is from Mr. Nathan. The fact that certification is the responsibility of employer. Should the employer not determine how much experience is enough? Why wait for an arbitrary amount of hours? They are either competent now or they are not. How can experience become qualitative rather than quantitative?
Well, experience is required by the SNTTC 1A. So when it says 840 hours of experience, so if I'm the employer and I'm certifying an individual, and and the individual is very good, I can see that he knows his skills and all that, but I'm restricted. My hands are tied, because I still have to follow the experience requirements of the certification process. So if it says 840, they still have to wait for 840, even though they may be really good at 400 hours. Because if I actually certify somebody at 400 hours, then I'm not following the certification process. And if I get audited, then there'll be no way I can actually justify his certification. So we still have to follow the rules, Like if the speed limit is 80 kilometers per hour, you still have to drive at 80, no matter what. So those basic things have to be followed. What can you do?
Yeah.
No, for example, like I'm just telling you about phased array. Earlier, the requirement for phased array training in SNTTC 1A was 40 hours. And to me, that was good enough. I can actually train a student to do good phased array in 40 hours. Now they made it 80 hours. I still don't understand why they made it 80 hours. Was it coming from the training companies so they can make more money? But to me, 40 is enough. But now we are stuck. If it says 80 hours, we have to do 80 hours. So the same thing with the experience. If it says 840, it's 840.
Now,
So there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts actually.
Yeah, correct. Basics we need to follow. We cannot change that.
The requirements have to be followed.
Yeah. So, one last question is from Mr. Daniel. How you difference between inspection of a person and inspection of AI, or how AI can give us better result than inspector? So definitely AI cannot give better, but this is the question to you, sir.
It's application dependent.
Yeah.
So like, we are coming back to the same thing. In some applications, AI actually will be better than human beings. There is no question about it. But in others, the human being will still have to be involved. So when it's a consistent type of inspection, mass production, automobiles, factory floor, there is no question about it. Robotics and AI are better. It's a hands-off thing. But when it comes to these plant inspections, still, manual inspections are still the key type of inspections. So it's all application dependent. So we cannot just be hands off and say, oh, there is AI, you take over our work. It's not like that right now. Even in the, we have to learn a lot from the medical field, how they're doing it. They do ultrasound. You can see when they do ultrasound in the hospitals, the technician is still scanning it and they're taking, screenshots of the ultrasound. And then they may use AI to review it. But at the end of the day, it is the radiologist who has to sign off and who still has to look at those images to make sure they're correct. So you cannot leave everything. So it depends on application. It's application dependent. In some applications, it's human beings are not involved at all. So we cannot make a general statement that this is right or this is the way to do it. So, but if we have this discussion next year, I can tell you it'll be totally different because there's a lot of progress going on at this time on a daily basis.
Right.
So we may have totally different ideas next year than what we have today.
Yeah.
Because still we are in the traditional mode at this time.
Okay. So thank you to our panelists for sharing such an honest and insightful perspective today. And thank you to the audience for jumping into this such engaging questions. Now I will hand over to our host, Mr. Pranjal.
Thank you, Vijay. And a sincere thank you to all the panelists for such a meaningful and thought provoking discussions. Today's conversation clearly highlighted that while certifications remain a critical pillar of the entity industry, there's an increasing need to ensure it involves alongside technology, industry demand, and global expectations. Thank you, Anmol sir. You have given a reality check about it and the knowledge comparison with the pharma and the medical industry has given a good perspective to the audience to understand how we can cope up with the examples, live examples from other industry. And definitely, we believe the young blood will encourage the certification providers, giving them employers requirements at hand so that they also upgrade themselves and the certifications becomes more valuable to the young audience, right? All right. The recording of this session will be available on the One Stop NDT platform. Please feel free to revisit, and share it with your teams. Plus, do check out the certification providers under the courses section on our One Stop NDT website. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next edition of the NDT Talk.